hazard to your health and safety. Jose Chille DeCastro rides through Los Angeles without a care in the world, calls out the FBI, says the Attorney General is a fake, and his board game will now ship in May. Regan Benson attacks the Blue Envelope program, says there's no point to it, gets angry to get angry again. Plus, zany Lane Myers files more motions to get the new set of charges thrown out in an effort to set him free. Will he be successful in at least one of the motions? All this and more on this edition of Auditing Insanity. Hello, and welcome to this edition of Auditing Insanity. I'm AI Johnny Jones, and I'll be your host for two big stories on Lane Myers, one big story on Chille DeCastro, and a makeup story on Regan Benson. I just wanted to thank those who expressed condolences to human assistant Jim Finch, as he's still coming to terms with the death of his father. For those interested in condolences, please consider contributing through the Animal Needs Amazon campaign in the description below. His father was a big fan of the collected group of cats and would be honored if you paid tribute to him by pitching in to ensure their well-being. Again, thank you for all of the kind words, and we'll be moving forward as we ask you to focus on. Lane Myers doubles down on home confinement. The headache-inducing Lane Myers experience got a bit weirder on Thursday as Myers' attorney, William Parvin, filed his response to the prosecution's opposition to his motion for a new bond hearing hours after the prosecution debunked many of his claims in a separate filing. Please note that the timeline may have changed from previous coverage, as the AZ Access website has been slow to release documentation for this case. Parvin again pushed the idea that Myers was being robbed of his constitutional right to defend himself due to the lack of a library and his inability to communicate freely with people to work on his defense. Myers is currently being held under a no-bond status due to a law stating that a defendant is ineligible for bond if a felony has been committed while out on bond. Parvin is stating, without providing legal basis, that this is unconstitutional as a pro se defendant due to conditions at the jail. Parvin argued that Myers had a no-bond hearing before he was officially arraigned on new charges. Once the arraignment happened and the case was assigned to Judge D. Douglas Metcalf, Metcalf could now hold a rehearing to determine if Myers should be allowed home release or have bond reinstated. In what could be an ill-timed revelation for Parvin, the prosecution addressed Myers' alleged access issues in a filing earlier on Thursday. That filing showed that Myers has been less than truthful about his access to the online law library, misrepresenting that he had been denied access to the online law library as he had access to the library since March 21, 2025. Furthermore, it disputed Myers' claim that there was only one electronic tablet per 25 inmates in the Pima County Adult Correctional Facility. Myers is currently housed in a section of the jail that provides a single tablet for every two-person cell. Myers himself showed how easy it was to obtain a tablet in one of his previous live streams from the jail. When the tablet he was using was running out of charge, he quickly found a second tablet that was charged to continue the stream. The YouTuber had also previously demanded his own personal time with a tablet based on a now disproven fact that there was only one tablet per 25 inmates, and his legal searches would compromise others' access. In the same filing, the prosecution again offered Parvin use of a laptop to facilitate his defense of Myers. It also made it clear that if Myers was indigent and could not afford to buy paper and pen, he could file a form to have those materials provided to him at the state's expense. While Myers took in no new donations on Friday, as the entire crowdsourcing market was fee with goose eggs, Myers has taken in $3,607 of donations to his Give Send Go campaign this year, with $465 coming in donations for April. Judge Metcalf issued a ruling that the motion for a rehearing on bond will be heard on Tuesday, April 15, 2025. If Parvin's claims are successful, the rehearing may happen at the same time. A second filing was made by Parvin on Thursday, which was apparently written by Myers and filed by Parvin. The new motion asks for the aggravated harassment charges faced by Myers be thrown out on the grounds that the current statute is too overbroad and would not apply to Myers. The filing acknowledges the current statute does not require the intent to harass for the aggravated harassment charges to apply. It further claims that the state legislature is currently revising the rule to require intent for the charges to be made. In essence, Myers is asking the court to dismiss the charges of aggravated harassment based on a future version of the statute and not the current statute. Myers argues, a person of ordinary intelligence would not understand what is and is not protected activity under the current version of the statute. With such vague terms, the state can arbitrarily decide who to prosecute because the intent of the individual has no bearing on the case. Anytime a public employee is annoyed or gets their feelings hurt over criticism, they could claim harassment and demand prosecution. This is an unacceptable application of the harassment law. This court must render it vague. The motion concludes that the aggravated harassment charges must be dismissed because the statute as currently written is void for vagueness, overbroad, and a violation of the First Amendment. The prosecution has yet to respond to Myers' motion.
Journalism is not free. Both ReallyCoolSite.org's daily newspaper and our daily newscasts are funded by your continuing donations and what we make from our YouTube AdSense revenue each month. If you'd like to contribute to help us keep the lights on, eating, keeping the cats fed, and writing new stories to feature on both the newspaper and newscast each day, we do have a GoFundMe set up at the address on screen right now. If you can't afford to contribute, please watch our videos from beginning to end. Like, share, subscribe, and comment. You can help by doing next to nothing, and we thank you in advance for pitching in.
Is Chille DeCastro bored of own board game? Jose Chille DeCastro returned to live streaming on Saturday while in the process of unsuccessfully driving to his print shop to pick up some teaching materials to use with his planned series of lectures on TikTok surrounding his Constitution HQ board game. DeCastro, fighting traffic as he attempted to get to the print shop as it closed before 3 p.m., assured his fans that his van had self-driving features and not to be concerned as it didn't need his hands on the wheel to navigate traffic. He also explained that he had trouble driving with his glasses on, as they were only for reading, but at different points in the stream, went ahead and paid more attention to his side chat than he did to the road as he was driving. DeCastro explained to his audience, which peaked at 201 consecutive viewers, that his board game was now on track for an early May 2025 launch and that there would be a teacher's edition coming out soon after. He envisioned the game being taught in classrooms across America and said he should have become a history teacher, assuring his fans that the game would be 99% done by Tuesday or Wednesday, with May 1, 2025 described as a sort of worst-case scenario. Switching gears, he announced that he now had a Team DLZ AI team. The team was not focused on giving legal advice, but instead, was focused on showing people how to use AI tools such as ChatGPT to generate legal documents and receive legal advice. He joked that he was using ChatGPT so much that the service had tried to charge him a $200 a month service plan. DeCastro then attacked the Trump administration, calling out untied State's Attorney General Pam Bondi, Director of the Federal Bureau of Investigation Kash Patel and Deputy Director of the Federal Bureau of Investigation Dan Bongino as fakes who were not interested in defending the Constitution. He said that when he took power in a future role, he would restore the Constitution and the Bill of Rights back to what the founders of the nation had intended. Arriving 2 minutes after 3 p.m., DeCastro seemed unbothered that his print shop was closed, and he was unable to retrieve his teaching materials. He said he'd pick up the material on another day, then began the 30-minute ride home. The YouTuber briefly appeared to mock Lane Myers and the Free Lane Myers movement, before going into the situation surrounding Craig Henry. DeCastro said that Henry wanted him to open a new GoFundMe on Henry's behalf to raise the $12,000 needed for Craig's bond in Sullivan County, Indiana. While DeCastro did not balk at the idea, he did say that Hendry wouldn't need the money for months, as he's currently incarcerated in Vermilion County, Indiana, on other charges. He eventually said he'd get about to creating one and then put it up on the community page of his YouTube channel. Turning his attention to his refiling of his Ironton, Ohio, lawsuit in Nevada, he said that he was filing for an extension to respond to both motions to dismiss in the case. He said that the motions were fundamentally flawed because the case was dismissed without prejudice and without resolution of his claims. He assured his fans victory, as the non-prejudice meant that he could refile the case wherever he liked until the merits of the case were heard. He seemed unconcerned about the multiple delays he'd already caused in the lawsuit, with him completely missing last week's deadlines to reply to the motions to dismiss, let alone missing the service deadline extension for months without explanation. DeCastro then went into a case where he's helping someone get his gun ownership rights back. He said he had signed an NDA in the case, then went over almost all aspects of the case with his viewers without providing information on the person he was helping. The YouTuber also indicated that he may be farming out some of the work on the case to his growing AI team. Finally, DeCastro said that there was nothing wrong with crying in court and again excused his own crying in court last year as dealing with a situation where he thought he'd be killed when he returned to the jail. Again, no details were given as to why he'd think that, but he blamed Judge Zimmerman, who handled that hearing, for not releasing him upon request.
Lane Myers reveals plans for legal defense. Just as you thought it was safe to go back into the water, the Lane Myers experience rolled into the pool and let loose a wave of insanity, chemical substances, and obvious legal and political tactics. The latest news came from the Reluctant Prophets channel, who offered the video of Myers' hearing in New Mexico that was recorded on April 1st, 2025. Myers is charged with criminal trespass, resisting, evading, or obstructing an officer, and concealing identity from an incident at a campground in New Mexico. Much like his cases in Arizona, Myers has devoted significant time to attacking prosecutor Kent Walquist and officer Angel Moreno. For those needing a crash course, perjury allegations against those involved in his prosecution, brigading, insults, and feigned outrage, and more outrage. The video features a pretrial hearing that was held via computer about 20 minutes before Myers' appearance in Arizona Superior Court to determine if his communication privileges should be revoked after he made multiple live streams from the jail attacking participants in the case. Myers talked over Judge Catherine Taylor for most of the hearing, giving random tidbits into the Myers verse, including claiming that his trial date in his Arizona cases was set for August and claiming that he was going to go to jail for 50 years. Eventually, Myers began to reveal his future plans for his handling of the Arizona case. He began to question Judge Catherine Taylor about circumstances that would let him out of jail in Arizona. These basically were scenarios where he would be released after having charges dismissed for the second set of charges against him. Myers essentially pitching that he'd be focusing on getting his new charges dismissed, which would eliminate his no-bond order and see him freed. Observers of his latest motions, 12 days later, have seen this play out as Myers is attacking the 6 new charges for multiple reasons: vagueness, duplicative status, constitutionality, trying anything to get rid of the charges, and his no-bond status. Judge Taylor indicated that if he was freed from jail in Arizona as a pro-SE defendant, it was his responsibility to alert the court of his change of status. She then set the next hearing in the case for April 21st, 2025. Myers' absence from social media has again impacted on his ability to fundraise. While Chille DeCastro mocked Myers on his Saturday livestream, and both Josh, This Is a Public Service Gray, and the Reluctant Prophet try to keep Myers in the public eye, Myers gets the drive-by donation at best, as there's not a lot of interest in his case. Our own ongoing expenses campaign one Saturday with a $500 donation made in the memory of Jim Finch's recently departed father. No other donations were observed to any of the other campaigns we follow. Regan Benson opposes Blue Envelope program. Coming out of a brief retirement on Tuesday, retired activist Regan Benson was accompanied by Louis Real constitutional upholders, Johnson, as the pair went to investigate the Lakewood, Colorado's embrace of a blue envelope policy. The national blue envelope movement is being embraced by police forces across America as a means to improve communication between disabled members of society and the police force. Lakewood's adoption of the policy came as part of Jefferson County, Colorado's adoption of the policy. On the jeffco.us website, which Benson claimed to have difficulty finding, the program is described as launched in Connecticut in 2020. The Blue Envelope program was originally designed to provide a simple solution to help drivers with communication challenges during traffic stops. It uses a bright blue envelope to hold essential documents, along with clear instructions for both the driver and the officer. It has since expanded to include materials people can have with them even when not driving, such as bracelets, lanyards, and buttons. This allows for a better understanding among all first responders in any type of interaction with members of the public. The program's success quickly led to its adoption across the nation, with law enforcement agencies in parts of New Jersey, Maine, Massachusetts, Arizona, San Diego, and Colorado implementing similar initiatives. These programs encourage first responders to approach identified citizens with empathy and clear communication, reducing misunderstandings and anxiety. Benson started the video expressing confusion at the purpose of the program. She initially thought that individuals would write letters to the police to be held in the envelope to express why a person could not communicate with police officers. The YouTuber made it clear that she had intended to write a letter indicating that she has a condition where she becomes extremely aggressive when interacting with police. Instead of planning on invoking her Fifth Amendment rights to keep her from communicating with police, she expressed the idea that the letter would allow her not to communicate with the police at all. Benson was slightly disappointed as she entered the Lakewood Police Department and received her blue envelope swag kit. The kit included a license plate holder, a seatbelt pad, a blue sticker for a car's back window, a lanyard, a keychain, a wristband, and the blue envelope itself. The envelope is intended to house the car's registration and proof of insurance. On the back of the envelope, there's fields for the person's name, condition, and emergency contacts in case the driver is incapable of verbally answering the police. Benson became enraged when she asked to speak to Commander Rob Buchan, who is in charge of the project, and he was unavailable. Instead of trying to call Commander Buchan, Benson did an information request for his schedule and for all policies on file for the program. After a bathroom break, Benson approached a group of police officers who were unaware of what to do when someone walked up to them and presented them with a blue envelope. She used this as an example of how poorly trained the police were in the new program, not the fact that the envelope was never intended to be used in such a situation. The YouTuber quickly became distracted as she was leaving the building as she spotting a Lakewood police officer who was moving equipment from his personal vehicle to his police car. Upon seeing the man with a rifle, Benson feigned being frightened and told the man that Johnson lost his gun rights for doing something similar. As the police officer treated her with respect during the interaction, Benson decided not to file a complaint against him before ending the broadcast. And we're back. Remember that Pope Phil and the gang will be back tomorrow night for the recently renewed Suck It Phil Monday. Suck It Phil Mondays will now go on for at least 75 more weeks, with fun and happiness as Phil goes insane on the show. Tune in Monday night for all the fun. With that, we're out of here.